The tourism industry is still struggling to get back on its feet. Stakeholders are also having to contend with telling staff to apply for the government's temporary unemployment relief scheme, which has been extended by 6 weeks. Many in the sector claim efforts for government assistance have come to nothing. Robert Moore is a Game Lodge stakeholder and he joins me now. Robert, perhaps just a picture of how exactly the game lodging industry has been affected, because you not only cater to a domestic market, but you also, of course, would be looking to bring in international visitors.
Good evening, Kathy. The game lodge industry is actually much bigger than most people think. There are approximately 486 game lodges throughout the country, often located in remote rural areas and are a key supplier of those communities' economy in those remote areas. You know, we're not near cities where there are many components in the economy. We sit remotely, and we are the only lifeline to a number of people who live remotely.
And at this point, it doesn't sound like you have the appetite to take government on in terms of perhaps having them ease some of the restrictions where you're concerned.
You know, as an industry, we've been in dialogue with government for a number of weeks, if not months, and we put all the required documentation together. We put the operating protocols together. And it just seems that we're not being heard. We are more recently, I mean, as I really honestly out of desperation, you know, the tours have only just been extended, as you just mentioned, which has been a lifeline for another 6 weeks. But, you know, just as early as yesterday, I was down at the property and I was sitting with one of my senior rangers who's been with us for 20 years, Simon Labombo, and he, you know, he's got his own family, but last year his brother died of TB, not COVID, and the Shangaan culture is to take on his brother's family. He now has 12 dependents. He has been operating off a 50% salary. Now, bearing in mind a senior field guide earns approximately half of his salary in gratuities. So he's not only taken, in essence, his monthly earnings with 12 dependents has now dropped from 100% down to 75%. He is getting no gratuities and he's on a half paycheck. And this is what is happening out there. I just don't quite understand how we cannot start operating actually as a sector within the industry. I understand we fully support the containment of COVID. We fully understand that. But this particular subsection within the industry has all the safety protocols. There is a high demand at the moment. People are desperate to get out of the cities and their lockdown environments. And here is a very easy win for government to just simply switch on. By switching it on to allow intra and inter-provincial leisure travel will immediately, because of the demand, immediately allow all 400 of those lodges to reopen and to bring people back to work. And in so doing, being able to put the money back into those rural communities. So it's an easy win. We are aligned with government's emphasis to contain, but at the same time we are seeing a devastating impact in these local communities where these incredible individuals who have committed their lives to tourism have just simply been forgotten.
Robert, part of my understanding was that game lodges could actually be opened, but of course people would be able to take drive-thrus around the property, perhaps to see some of the animals and not necessarily stay over. So maybe just clarify for me, what are you allowed to do right now?
So drive-thrus are allowed, but as you can imagine, ultimately, I mean, let's just look at the province of Gauteng. I mean, the majority of game lodges in South Africa sit within Northwest Limpopo and in Mpumalanga. The majority of the markets for those particular lodges sits in Gauteng. Now, as we know, so it's sort of we've been given something by self-drive for the day, but our market is too far away. So it's sort of we've been given something that we can't actually really utilize. So I just feel that it hasn't been thought through. I mean, the overall all the work that we've been doing over the last couple of weeks, we've really analyzed the the risk profile of game lodges. And I can assure you, if you can imagine a family leaving from Johannesburg or Pretoria to drive to a lodge, they go through a reserve entrance where they can go through the health checks. First of all, they go through the interprovincial checkpoint. Then they go to the reserve entrance. Then they arrive at the lodge. Lodges, just by, on average, across all of those lodges, has an average of 13 rooms. 13 rooms sleeps 26 people. I mean, we're talking well below the kind of recommend below 50 numbers. Then the experience itself is primarily outdoors. That's what game lodges offer. You get on the game drive vehicle, you're outdoors. Your dining is often outdoors. So it's just such an incredibly low risk profile industry. And in understanding that and seeing that, the opportunity is to switch it on. Switching it on is going to bring people back to work. It's going to put money back into conservation. Every single guest that goes through a gate pays an entrance fee. That money, primarily, majority, goes towards conservation. None of that is happening at the moment. So we have an opportunity where we're not going to be spreading the virus. We are incredibly low. We're certainly lower than a lot of industries that are already operating, but yet it's an easy win. We can get people back to work. We need to rebuild our payroll. It is devastating out there what's happening at the moment.
Of course, Robert, part of the assumption that you have to make there is that everybody will be well behaved and that they'll, simply drive from their homes to the game farm and to the game lot rather. And oftentimes, that may not necessarily be the case.
I mean, ultimately, one needs to trust the behavior of the individual, but still, it's if you are going to make a booking at a game lodge, I would find it. I mean, of course, there's going to be gaps in any argument for any containment of the virus. But if someone is going to make a booking, and we could easily implement, you simply have to prove with the travel permit, you have to produce a confirmed booking at a particular establishment. And like when you buy an airline ticket or you book at a hotel, it says date of arrival, date of departure. This is enormously easy to control. So it is traceable, it is trackable, it is a very regulated industry. We have all the health operating protocols in place already. So it's that for me, and I'm not honestly being biased just because we have a number of lodges, and we're just pleading to government. We are a low risk sector of the industry. We have hundreds, if not thousands of people with a multiple of 10 on average dependents operating in areas where the unemployment rate is sitting as high as 40%. It's 40% in the areas where we operate. There is no other income coming into those economies. We are desperate to simply switch on. And the key incentive here, no point in opening up an industry if there's no demand. There is demand for game lodges at the moment. We are a seasonal business in the domestic market, and the demand is extremely high between June, July, August, all the way through to September and October. So we know that if we can get given permission to operate, we will be able to turn on the lodges, bring in the revenue, and bring people back to work. And I think the risk is low, but I think the risk, even at a low risk, is worth taking.
All right. Robert Moore, he is with the Game Lodge Stakeholder. Thanks for your time on the channel.